Good evening, I'm Simona Cassano, and this is Maltese literature across continents. Tonight we'll discuss how Maltese literature is traveling abroad, and we'll touch upon the challenges of exporting Maltese literature, and we'll focus on concepts of transnational readership or translingual narratives. What we want to explore is publishing translation, and the challenges. We know that by definition, translation projects are imbued with challenges, but these challenges, when it comes to publishing translation, are due to localizing or adapting to a new readership, if any, if it is decided, but as well as the decision of the foreign publisher when it comes to the production and the marketing aspect of publishing and promoting a book in translation. Of course, tonight we'll focus on Maltese literature in translation. And we also want to know how Maltese literature is received abroad. And we will do that by focusing on specific case studies. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to our guests tonight. We have with us Nick Kent, who is the Managing Director of UK publishing house Owen Publishers, and he's joining us online from London. Good evening, Nick.
Good evening.
So just last night, Owen Publishers launched here at the Malta Book Festival Wolinda Bunn's Exodus of the Storks in English. If you missed it, you may watch the event online on our website, ktib.org.mt, or on our Facebook page 2021 Malta Book Festival, the bookshop. We mentioned Walid Naban translated Loran Vella's, Loran is here with us tonight, Loran Vella's Rocket into Arabic. And he did so for Cairo-based Dar Noon for Publishing. Now connected from the Sharjah Book Fair, we have Fatimah Abbas. Hello, Fatimah.
Simona, thanks for having me.
Good evening, Fatimah. Fatimah is a literary translator, publishing consultant, and the head of External Relations and Translation Department for Dar Noon. And here with us is Katrina Storace, the co-founder with Jen Calleja, who is also here with us, of London-based micro-publisher Praspar Press.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi.
Kat translated Loran Vella's What Will Take For Me to Leave, Mil Bi Bil Jawa, did I say that correctly? Published by Praspar Press. And that was also launched today, this afternoon, at the Malta Book Festival. And last but not least, and definitely the farthest from Malta, from Peru, a warm welcome to Angela Arce. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Good evening, Angela. Angela.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. You pronounced it correctly.
Very good. Angela is the managing director of Colmillo Blanco, who published the Spanish version of Trojan by Alex Velagera, translated by our dear friend Antoine Cassar, I hope is watching us tonight. But before we delve into the thick of things, we would like to remind all of you and the public of the role that the National Book Council has when it comes to literary exports. At the National Book Council of Malta, we, among other things, coordinate, facilitate, and subsidize the translations and export projects, both locally and internationally. For example, we have every April we launch an application for the Malta Book Fund, whose aim is to boost the export and international dissemination of Maltese publications, as well as support Maltese language translators in bringing locally the works of international writers to a Maltese reading public. And we have an annual budget of €105,000, which is very good. So don't forget to look at our website in April if you are a translator or a publisher who wants to publish Maltese literature. Another way to do that, though, is also direct literary export work. In our capacity as literary agents, we don't have literary agents here in Malta, so when we go to foreign book fairs, we act as such as literary agents for our authors and publishers, in particular for the National Book Prize winning authors. Only just a handful of Maltese writers have literary agents. Therefore, translation and publication projects are brokered when we visit the London Book Fair, many book fairs in the Arab region like Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, where Fatimah is now, and Cairo, and also book fairs in South America, and more recently in China. We also visited the Frankfurt Book Fair, and we have initiated many projects within neighboring Italian market. This is it, my introduction finally ends. I would like now to start by asking our guests to go into the specifics of their publishing market and comment on why their editorial choice fell on those specific titles in translation. So Fatimah, I thought we would start with you. Tell us a little bit about your work at Dar Noon for Publishing and about the process that led to the publication of Rocket into Arabic.
First of all, I would love to thank you so much for considering me for such an important event and to express my gratitude for being here with you all. I wish you all a successful literature festival or whatever you call it. Let me clarify that my work with Noon for Publishing and Distribution is actually that I am in charge and responsible for all the international connections for the company. In terms of copyrights, that we roam the international book fairs as much as we can, not just the Arabic ones, to be able to do some matchmaking and some networking, to be able to catch or gather the important titles from each country. And my goal, my personal goal for the company is to have, at least one title from each country, which is challenging, but we are trying hard. And when it comes to the Maltese literature, I know by heart that in Malta, you have a very, very rich culture and have very rich literature with so many talented authors and literature professionals, but probably because of Malta is a small island and there is no much enough promotion for the country like we always hear from other European big countries. That's why not everybody is capable of hearing about the Maltese literature, and also because of the difficulty of the Maltese language, especially when we are talking about Arabic in the other side, as Arabic as well is very complicated and very difficult, and it's almost rare to find a translator that can be able to translate from Maltese into Arabic or vice versa professionally and properly, without just use Google Translate or something like this. And we were lucky enough to have Walid and Nabhan to translate the book for Laurent Vella for us, Rocket. And if you are asking for the reason behind my choice for Rocket, I would easily say that I guess it's not only me. Everybody in my shoes would definitely choose a Rocket for Laurent Vella, because if you read the translation, after that I read the translation by Walid, thanks to his proficiency in this, but after you read that, you just realize how correct you were to choose such a beautifully written literature. She's very talented, very detailed and focused, and it talks about freedom. And in my country and most of other Arab countries as well, we are really searching for freedom and we really need it by all the means. So what made me choose this title is how professionally it was written, how it touched my heart and it touched all my feelings. I feel that I want to read this book like myself, not just like a publisher that comes and choose a title and so. And we have already published the title on the Cairo Book Fair this year. It happened on July. It was an exceptional version because of the pandemic, but it usually happens in January. And it has had a great success, and that was actually, to be honest, unexpected, because most of the people in Egypt, for instance, don't really have the idea that there are an island or an European country called Malta, and there is something called Maltese literature. So I was a bit surprised that the book is booming from the beginning. However, the pandemic circumstances are affecting us so badly, and the whole industry in general are going through some struggles and the challenges. But Rocket, was able to succeed in just like a couple of 2 months or something, and I'm expecting higher and more sales in the future, hopefully by here, also in Sharjah, because we have the book displayed here, by Cairo Book Fair in January, and all the Arabic-speaking book fairs that we are able to attend or distribute to.
So you are basically, if I could summarize, that the themes, the dystopia, the political unrest, the civil disobedience, some of the themes in the book, found relevance for your target audience. Does the book fit a genre that is already there? Is it something new for a publishing house? Or, for example, comes Mohammed Rabi with Otarid comes to mind. Does it fit a request from your audience, from your public, from your market? Or was it something new for your audience when you published Rocket? Why the success?
We can say that it is something in between. As in my modest point of view, I see publishers need to do two things. The first of all is to have, like a small dedicated market research to check people and the public audience taste and the way they read. Because in Egypt, for instance, I see that the public taste changes a lot from year to year. So we need to cope with the change and need to know what are the tests that are developing, especially in the youth, because they are the majority of the Egyptian population. And from the other side, we also need to offer new things and to show new titles, new ideas to the market, because I see publishers, as I always say, that publishers are entrepreneurs, that we not just sell commercial products, no, we also sell knowledge. We do something that is important and is valuable, that we are responsible of. We are responsible of the literature we provide to the audience, especially if they are from young age. Whatever we provide, we are responsible of, so we need to choose this, we need to back it very, very professionally and very properly to be able to, from one side, to demonstrate something new, to get them to know and to get to know about other civilizations, other cultures and backgrounds and so on, taking in consideration our own culture and aspects as well. And at the same time, to make sure that this book will go well with the public we distribute to be able to be somewhere in between and to have this balance.
Thank you. Angela, what caught your interest when you published Alex Vela-Gera's Trojan? I will ask you a similar question. How did you see the book fitting in the market that you target? Or in the greater Peruvian market. What led you to want to publish it?
Okay, thank you so much. And congratulations to Fatimah, because all of her work is amazing. So Trojan found us Colmillo Blanco because we have some Chilean friends that are also publishers, and they thought we could be interested in publishing Trojan. So it was more like Trojan found us. And when we read it, we discovered something that it's not so common. That's the main character, one dislikes the main character. So we thought it would be something like a challenge to promote a book that doesn't produce such easily empathy. So at first it was, okay, let's see, this is definitely a challenge, because Malta, we knew where Malta is in the map, but as many people here, we thought in Malta they spoke Italian. So discovering the Maltese language was amazing. And of course, Antoine Casar's translation was a key piece, because he could transfer the beautifully written book by Alex without missing the essence of the story. So we only added a few key pieces that we needed to, we thought we needed, because the translation was made for Spanish from Spain. So here in Latin America, we speak a bit different. Well, not a bit, like very different. And there were some idioms, some phrases that we could understand, but we thought it was like, there's something that we could make better here. So when we edited the translation, we found out that we could make it so much natural for here. And it was an amazing process, because we had only translated, or we had only edited translations from English, but not from Maltese.
To touch upon this, you mentioned to me that a similar choice was done in the design of the book cover, to give it a Maltese flavor and localize it as little as possible. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. So Trojan is pronounced in Spanish very similar, Trojano. And we wanted to make it, of course, very appealing, because why would a Peruvian reader want to read something written by a Maltese author? Because we are so far away. But when we Googled what was a characteristic from Malta, of course, the landscape was a very important characteristic. So we wanted this landscape in the cover, but also the cat silhouette, because the cats are a very important, even a character maybe. They are a very important subject inside the book. So when we talked to the artist, she captured perfectly what we wanted for her, and she even made our ideas much better. So we love that the book is not only promoting Maltese literature, but also Malta in general through its book cover.
To move back to this side of the world, Nick, Peter Owen has published 7 Nobel Prize winners, including Hermann Hesse and Octavio Paz, and it boasts a backlist that includes some of the most talented and important writers from all over the world. So how did translating Walid Naban's Exodus of the Stork fit your editorial line? And what is your plan to get the Maltese work known into such a multifaceted and dense market as the UK market?
Well, I think the advantage of coming from an old company with an established reputation for literary fiction in translation, it helps us get noticed, even though we're still a relatively small independent company, and if we have to fight for space against the big boys out there, but when we were introduced by the National Book Council to Walid and his amazing work, Exodus of the Storks, we found in it something that was a voice, yes, coming from Malta. It couldn't have been written anywhere else, but it is written by a Palestinian about the concerns that are rocking the world at the moment, of people who are being displaced, about refugees, about homelessness. And the book is so powerful that we had to get that power across. And the language is often violent and disturbing. The character Nabil is in himself a very, very conflicted man, and to bring that forward, to make that work is our job. And with working with the translation, editing carefully, just sort of putting those little fine touches to it, we have come up with something that deserves its place alongside the other very independent voices we've published in the past, from Hesse to Yukio Mishima, from Salvador Dali to Anais Nin. They're all on these shelves behind me and around me. And we've come up with a good edition, as you've probably seen. A very sort of excellent production by our designers and printers. And armed with that, and due to the help we received from the National Book Council, we were able to engage FMCM, who are the leading player when it comes to literature in translation, to get it noticed. And we're not publishing here until February, because FMCM wanted the physical book to, rather than proof copies or PDFs, to get into the hands of the influencers and to get it noticed. But because what we have here and what we boast about it in the publicity is of course he's won your National Book Prize and also the European Union Book Prize, and those things bring together the elements that make a Peter Owen book, and so we're giving it our best shot.
You were mentioning earlier, Nick, that this is the 70th anniversary of your company. Yes,
we're a little bit older than your colleague there, but I do like the fact that we have a newborn company, and we're one of the last independents left, really, in Britain out there. To come together over Maltese literature, and I look forward. Ill health prevented me from getting to the book fair myself, which is a great shame. But I hope I meet everybody in person at London Book Fair or Frankfurt when we get the fairs rolling again like they should be.
Thank God for the internet. I hope you get better. So from a 70th anniversary, let's zoom back on this stage. Katrina, Storace and qarrejja, I think this is the first anniversary of your company. So Praspar Press was created in 2020, and after just barely a year, this is your two publications, Scintillas, an anthology of Maltese works in English, and a translation of Loran Bella's book, as we said, short stories. What is your vision, and why was Praspar Press created? And how crazy are you to tap into a market? What would you like to do with Maltese literature in London?
So Praspar Press was born from many conversations between myself and qarrejja, who is an author and a literary translator, and many other things as well. My background is in literary publishing in the UK, and I think through our meetings and many conversations we realized, or we put our finger on something that we couldn't share any writing, and perhaps me specifically, coming from Malta, couldn't share any books I'd read, couldn't share any Maltese writing with our friends or colleagues specifically in the publishing scene in the UK. So we were really keen to find a way or find a route together to create a sort of bridge to be able to support and eventually decided on also publishing Maltese authors and introducing them to English-speaking readers. So that is the basis of our vision, is really to sort of facilitate and to create space within what is a very crowded UK market for Maltese writing. So that's how Praspar Press was born. Our first sort of approach or inroads into that was to come up with the idea of an anthology of Maltese writing, which allowed us to reach out to, through a call for submissions, an open call for submissions, to lots of writers based in Malta, but also further afield. It was quite interesting to work with the Maltese diaspora as well in many ways. And then alongside that, we took on our first sort of full-length publication, which is a translation of Loran Bella's Mil Bibl Ġewwa, which is, we've launched today as What Will It Take for Me to Leave? And I think these two routes are quite important. These two publications are quite exemplary of where we'd like to go, I guess, in two different sort of routes. In the first instance, we're very interested in new talent, in supporting writers who perhaps haven't yet sort of found their route through the UK market in any way, or possibly not even published yet. And from a different route, it's literary translation, which we are sort of very interested in, also looking at established writers, books we love in a way, and finding a way to kind of make them available in the UK.
And how have the books been received so far?
It's been good so far. We're quite sort of taken aback, or quite amazed by the response. I think we position ourselves as a small press, and that's quite I guess, an important thing for us, because small presses in the UK are doing some amazing things. People like Fitzcarraldo, Charco Books, lots of different presses, Prototype. They're all sort of fighting different corners, I suppose, for voices that perhaps don't get as much exposure within the UK market. So, yes, we would align ourselves with small presses, and so we've had a lot of support from, for instance, independent booksellers in the UK, London Review of Books, Burley Fisher Books, Hastings Bookshop, and many others. And we are being approached by independent bookshops. We're also hopefully being stopped by foils. That's to be confirmed. And yeah, so there's been so that's just from the sort of selling side, and then we've had some amazing endorsements for the book as well. Yeah, it's been very supportive.
And I also heard that it's sold out here at the Malta Book Festival. So would you say that you really have, with Praspar Press, a transnational readership? Because who is your audience? Is it UK-based, or is it Maltese-based? Or is it both?
I think it's a really important question, because I think fundamentally we, we operate within the UK market. That's sort of where we're based. That's where we've chosen to be. But the idea of a bridge is really important. It is about bringing the two worlds together for us. It's very important for Jen and I. We both sort of have links to both worlds. It's very important to us that we are doing the work in London, but also in the UK, but also in Malta. And therefore, I think we consider our audience to be, in a sense, people who are interested in reading translated writing, but also people who are interested in reading about, or perhaps coming into contact with voices, sorry, with my mic, with voices or stories or contexts that they haven't sort of ever come across. And the Maltese experience is one that I think is under represented very much, definitely in the UK. But then obviously in Malta, people also want to read about experiences that are closer to home, that are familiar to them, and to see themselves reflected somehow in the writing they're reading.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, I mentioned about the difficulties or some of the cultural or social complexities that are involved in translation work. And I wanted to go back to Fatimah and ask, from her perspective, particularly for when it comes to translations into Arabic. So are these cultural and issues and culture-sensitive text, the differences in which, for example, gender issues are represented, or social and family structures? In this case, not so much about Rocket as such, but in general, when translating work, when publishing translated work, translated from books published in originally non-Muslim countries. How do you deal with censorship issues when translating into Arabic? And have you encountered any problems when publishing, in this case, Rocket?
Yeah, in the beginning, I would love to highlight something, that the case is not actually about Muslim and non-Muslim countries. It's not about the religion. Because, for instance, Egypt, for example, is a Muslim country, that is correct, but also we have a lot of Christians. So we are, balanced between Muslim population and Christian population. In Lebanon, for instance, in Syria, for instance, there is a lot of Christian, probably the majority, more than Muslim citizens there. In other Arab countries, like for instance Morocco, there is a lot of Jews, Moroccan, but we are all sharing the same, traditions, and in some points. So it's not actually about the religion, it's more about the traditions, the cultures, what our parents have brought us about in, and how they raised us about. It's not necessarily to be about the religion one relates to. As for example, in some European countries, you will find different cultures and different traditions in the same country. Depends whether the person is from the north or from the south. It depends.
Sure. It's more cultural
And also,
sensitivities.
yes, it's more culturally based. And also the censorship issues differs from country to another. In Egypt, it's not like in Emirates, not like in Lebanon, like in Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
We have differences, but we share, let's just say a pace. We don't really, like to publish things that have a lot of sexual context or a lot of sexual scenes in it without, let's say, justification. We don't prefer to publish a lot of religious texts. As for known, we only publish, fiction novels, history, and so on. So it doesn't really happen a lot with us. But you asked me in general what happens. So let's say that Saudi Arabia was the most conservative country, coming after the other Gulf area countries. However, things are in a change for now. Things are different now. Saudi Arabia are getting more open and so on. But we are still have these kind of limits that we don't really want to exceed. And also because the audience themselves, not just the government or the censorship officials, no, just even the audience, when we exceed such limits that were put within the habits and the traditions we used to in our countries, the audience don't really like the book. That's why sometimes when I get another book for translation from a Western country, like for instance, some books are already acquired rights from the UK, we ask it for the author's permission to modify or even to remove some passages from the book that is so sexual and won't really go well with our culture, and the audience won't really like it, and therefore it would affect the book reputation and the book sales. And luckily the Western authors and publishers know the case and know the issue that happens by heart, and they really respect all the differences that can be there, and all the let's say censorship that should be in other countries, and they are easygoing, and they are aware of the case and very understanding that it's fine if we can modify, if you can even remove the whole passage, unless it's not affecting the whole context. So to conclude, I guess it's more traditionally, more culturally based than it's about the religion.
Thank you, Fatima. Similarly, I was going to ask a similar question to Angela. So, would you say that conservatism or Catholicism, I'm going back to the religious thing, I've already been told off about this, but I'm going to try again. Would you say, Angela, that conservatism may dictate changes in the original book? In your case, when you publish, in your case in Peru, when it's translated into Spanish, is that the case? And also, maybe if you can expand, you decided to publish Trojan, you already touched upon this, but did you see, when you chose to publish this book, any parallels between the Peruvian society and the one presented in Trojan?
Yeah, okay. Actually, there's no religious censorship, even though Peru is a Catholic country. It's very, we have freedom of speech religious-wise, maybe because of the context right now, the issue that would be more problematic would be politics. But religious-wise, it's very relaxed. It's very free. They do not people do not interfere with the content, but we. Because the majority of our readers are young people, we were wondering how they would take this Danny, the main character of Trojan, because he's not a likable person. But what we shared with our friends or with these young readers was that do not focus on Gianni's personality. Go beyond it and check out his wife, his kid, his lover, his best friend, because the richness of the book is in those characters, the ones that surround Gianni. And about the similarities between Malta and Peru or our literature, it's very curious. It's funny because even though we are very far apart, our societies are very similar. We also have this conservative group that's growing and that's mixing in politics and religion. And there are many issues that we as a country haven't tackled yet, but we could find these similarities reading Trojan, because even though Malta has been a very well-known conservative country, you have advanced way more than us in some subjects. So we've found that quite curious. Also, we loved that when we launched the book, Alex, the author, was very, very keen on criticizing people like Danny, like the main character. So we thought that, I mean, that's the whole point. This is supposed to not be a likable character. So that's a difference that we found in what we usually read here or in Peruvian literature, because authors usually want you to like the main character. So I would say the society in Malta and the society in Peru are very similar, and that made the book easily read to some people. There were no cultural shocks. Like we could understand them. We could understand the subject. We could understand the whole problems around the characters, because even though it's another country, another culture, the intimacy issues, the problems, the conflicts were very personal, were very relationship-wise, and that made it an easy book to read. And we hope we continue promoting the book as good as we have.
Thank you, Angela. Obviously, I cannot ask the same question along the similar lines to Kat and Nick, because obviously in the UK market there are different logics, I would suppose, and that's what my starting point was. But I just wanted you to we start ladies first, to illustrate your specific experiences as a small independent new publisher. When it comes to content, I think we've touched upon this, or adapting to a readership, or are you not even thinking about that? Like, are you going ahead with you as the reader in mind, from your perspective as someone who wants to publish translated literature, which in the UK we know that is, very small market, and you're going ahead because you see a gap, you saw a gap in the market, so no matter what?
I guess it's a little bit of both, or the latter, which is seeing a gap in the market, is that is a fact. That is definitely there. I think in terms of the content or the type of books or what we would like to do, it still feels very, very early. I think we're still exploring a lot of that. But I do think that, you know, there's two considerations. In terms of, I guess there will always be a little bit of personal taste that comes into that, and the type of writing that we would like to publish will always, to an extent, reflect the type of books we like to read. But at the same time, I think it's also driven by the quality of the writing itself, and I think both Jen and I probably believe in that quite a lot. So we actually probably put more time then into making sure that you know, whether it's obviously different in translation to publishing in the original, but I think the quality of the writing is what's really important for us, because I think then you could find a readership for something you really believe in, and I think that's really what we're going with as our kind of main driver. Yeah.
Yes. Nick, 70-year-old company. Do you...
Nearly 70-year-old managing director too.
All right. It's a good number then. What is your starting point when it comes, so translating, publishing translated work in the UK is difficult, but as a 70-year-old publisher and publishing house, what is your perspective? How can Maltese literature penetrate? That's what I would like to ask you in that market. And what is the secret for translated work to actually be there and get the interest of that public that we want to get to?
Well, it's. I would just like to say I'm not quite 70 yet, but I'm not far off. The secret is to make as much noise as possible at the right time, and it is difficult for us because the review space in the newspapers that used to review every book that Peter Owen, when he was alive, published, now can't, even if they want to. They don't have the space. Things have spread out over the internet and social media, of course, which is very, very important. But sorry, my dog has appeared here because it's.
It's all right. We're dog friendly over here.
I think there's Gloria there on the floor. Where's Gloria? Oh. There she is. So can you? I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a diversion, but. Can you see this dog? Yeah. Well, it's because it is not November the 5th, the traditional fireworks night tonight, but tonight there's a lot of displays and she doesn't like the noise. But talking about noise, this is why we need the help of a small publisher, old but small publisher like us. Needs the help of the Book Council of Malta to let us engage the people who are going to get this book into the right audience. Now, this includes, in this case, the people with an interest in Palestinian affairs and anything to do with the Middle East and refugees, and it's very, very contemporary. So I would expect us to get some extracts from the book widely circulated, and in that way light the fire that will cause the book to actually make the impact that it deserves to make. And of course, I think the fact that it is now an English translation means that it's easier to get at for other foreign publishers who perhaps don't read Maltese, but can see the power of the book, and therefore, literally, as the book itself spreads this great sort of cloak over the Mediterranean area and includes Malta and sort of links Malta to the Levant. We want to sort of extend that to, you know, to this wider audience, to literally spread the word that's, in our opinion, a very important word, a very individual voice, and I hope we are successful.
Thank you very much. One thing that from Peru to the UK and to Egypt that is common tonight is that we are proud to say that we helped these Maltese books. As the National Book Council, we're now proud to say that we helped these Maltese books to travel, and we thank you for believing in this. And just want to leave you with one last quick question, which most probably is, I don't know, unnecessary, but I would like to understand the different role, the different relevance in different countries that getting a grant or getting a sponsorship has. So between a small new UK publisher and an established 70-year-old one, and a publisher in Peru, in South America, and a publisher in Egypt. How important and how, yes, I think I asked my question. Kat.
I probably can't underline how important it is enough, because for us it's enabled us to, I guess, to pursue the projects we wanted to pursue, and yeah, to keep my answer brief, we probably couldn't have got to where we got to quite as quickly and quite as sort of completely as we did without the support. So yeah, we're very grateful for all of the support we've had from the Book Council. Yeah.
Nick, you were mentioning about the marketing, that that was important for you to actually go full on the marketing of Exodus of the Storks.
Yes, yes, that's right. And you know, without the support, we just don't have the budgets to do that these days, because you know the sale of literary fiction is not, you know, is not as sort of great as it should be, and therefore our revenue streams have over the years declined in real terms. Mm-hmm. So it's just so important to be able to have really professional people to make the most of an excellent author, to be able to bring him to the UK, to get him known, and to do the necessary the necessary spreading of the word on the social media side, having the contacts with reviewers and other people, other events, and all that is, you know, we wouldn't be able to do 1/10 of it, I don't think, without this support.
Mm-hmm. And Angela, you were mentioning that you heard about Trojan by the Chilean publisher. Trojan has been also published in Chile and in Argentina. And how important for the Peruvian market is nowadays also to get grants and sponsorships?
It's without them we couldn't survive because people usually romanticize, I think it's the word, literature and the publishing business because books are this cultural object without a value, and people sometimes forget that it's also a company, it's also a business, and we need money to keep it running. So when we discuss these subsidiaries, these sponsorships, we love to praise them because it's a necessity. We couldn't exist without them. We are an independent publishing company too, and our government usually gives us some spaces, and we have contests. If they like our propositions for a book, then they can pay some money to print it, but if it depended only on us or in the book sales, then it would be very hard. So we really appreciate the opportunity the National Book Council of Malta gave us and the trust they gave us, because we think that we delivered an excellent book, not only in content, because that was what Alex gave us, but in quality, in printing, and we love to promote a book that's good, not only as a story, but as a product.
Yes.
So thank you so much again.
Thank you. It looks like an auto celebration. I didn't mean it to be looking that way, but it's what it looks like. Fatima, just one last word, because I have worked as an editor in the Arab world for quite a few years, and I know how very fine is the line between vanity publishing and getting a sponsor. What is your experience in Egypt regarding that? And do you still manage to keep an eye on always aiming for quality literature, to getting to publish quality literature in translation in particular?
Actually, in Egypt, we don't have any kind of support programs or translation grant programs, unfortunately, to support the translations from different languages. But we still do, even if without support, if we liked, a title that much, if we found a title that will leave an impact, will leave something that is important and something that is new to our audience, we just do, and we just carry the cost and all the expenses to be able to deliver this and to, let's say, to fill the gap between different cultures and our culture. However, I would like also to highlight that even if we don't have such a kind of supportive programs in my country, Egypt, but we have in Sharjah. However, I consider Sharjah and Emirates in general as like second home for me. They're always supporting the Arab publishers as much as they can, thanks to them and to their book authority. They have a grant program here dedicated to publishers, not only the Arab publishers, also for all the international ones. And each year, a lot of publishers, like hundreds, attend their professional program, pick titles and apply for translation grants. So the sum of money we get from them help us a lot to cover at least like 60% of the translation cost, which is very important and helps a lot. And also, I have already experience with Malta Book Council when translating al-Ktieb, because the translation would be, very costly, especially because the two languages are very unique and very complicated, and it's super hard to find someone that can have, this translation bridge and do this effectively. Thanks to Walid and Nabhan for this. And thanks for Malta Book Council for facilitating this for us. So as I say to conclude, even if we don't have this in my own country, but we have it, in other places, and we can still get the advantage and be able to spread the word, as I say.
Thank you very much. I think I'm gonna have to borrow the title of one of Jen's books. I'm afraid that's all the time I have for. Was that? similar like that. Thank you very much, Fatimah Abbas. Thank you, Kat Storace. Thank you, Nick Kent. And thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope this was as informative and pleasant as it was for us. And thank you very much. And I hope both for you who are here tonight and for other publishers will have an opportunity to get Maltese literature to travel abroad. Thank you.